betrayal, murder, cancer, pregnancy, coma, serial killer, lies, cheating, mental illness, straight men turning gay, fake funerals, kidnappings, hacking. Wow, is this book an over-the-top, ridiculous page-turning ride or what?
That's quite a list. Derived, I assume, from some rather breathless reader reactions we encountered. An energetic opening.
Energetic. Ooh, that's just the appetizer according to these people. This thing sounds less like a book and more like a bingo card for a particularly unhinged daytime soap opera crossed with, I don't know, a hardware store catalog, hacking.
Right, well, perhaps we should attempt to establish some context for our listeners. We are discussing the one by John Mars. The central idea, as described by readers, involves a near-future setting where a company called Match Your DNA offers a test.
A simple test. Just spit in a tube, mail it off, and bam! Science tells you who you're supposed to spend eternity with, or at least until the next shocking twist hits on page 5. Forget online dating. This is like a DNA service finding your soulmate, who might also be, wanted in several states.
Indeed. The premise involves 5 individuals receiving their match results, and the narrative apparently explores the consequences. Reviewers frequently compared it to Black Mirror.
Oh, everyone said Black Mirror. It's the go-to comparison when technology gets uppity and starts ruining lives in entertaining ways. Welcome to another season of Black Mirror, one person literally wrote, probably while hiding under their bed.
It seems the execution of this premise was a significant point of division. Some readers felt the book brilliantly wrung every last ounce of possibility from the concept. Others disagreed.
Disagreed. They called it pulpy, cliched, far-fetched. One poor soul admitted, and I quote, "It was almost impossible to put down, but it was also kind of bad." That's the sweet spot, isn't it? The literary equivalent of eating an entire bag of questionable gas station cheese puffs. You hate yourself, but you cannot stop.
An interesting culinary metaphor. There were certainly strong opinions. One reviewer lamented. Ultimately, though, the characters are two-dimensional, and the situations flick between cliched and far-fetched. The biggest crime, though, is the dialogue. Unrealistic and at times cringeworthy.
Cringeworthy dialogue. My favorite? Was it like those corporate icebreakers where everyone has to share a fun fact? Hi, I'm Christopher. I enjoy long walks on the beach. Evisceration, and my DNA match is a cop. Fun.
You're referring, I believe, to Christopher, the serial killer character. His storyline was frequently cited as the most interesting or a favorite, despite, or perhaps because of, his profession.
Of course it was the favorite. People love a charming psychopath, especially when he apparently goes jogging commando just to assert dominance. One reviewer mentioned he runs without his underwear on so that everyone could see his He swing. Classy. That's not just a red flag. That's a whole semaphore convention signaling run away very fast.
That specific detail was indeed noted. It contributes to the memorable nature of the character, I suppose. He wasn't the only divisive figure. Ellie, the creator of the DNA matching technology, drew strong reactions. Some found her complex, others called her the devil.
The devil? Not just misguided or ethically challenged, but the actual prince of darkness, apparently moonlighting in biotech. One reviewer said she was so far up her own ass. Probably couldn't even see the devil horns from in there. Did she have a tiny pitchfork for stirring her coffee?
The reviews did not specify her coffee accoutrements. They did mention she was seen as guarded, unsympathetic, and an unethical scientist. There seemed to be frustration about a perceived lack of justice for her actions.
Justice. In a book where people are getting matched with serial killers and having their lives explode every other chapter. Justice is probably taking a nap, exhausted. Speaking of questionable choices, what about Mandy? Readers seemed incandescent with rage about Mandy.
Ah, yes, Mandy. Reviewers described her storyline as dramatic, but many found her intensely irritating. Comments included she makes me really, really angry, acts like a child, is weak-willed, simpering, and apparently stalks his funeral.
And stalks his funeral? That's not just weak-willed, that's advanced level creepy. Was she hiding behind a tombstone, commenting on the eulogy? And didn't someone say she had the dead guy's baby without ever meeting him? That's not a plot point. That's a cry for help wrapped in a biohazard bag.
The detail about having the deceased match child via sperm bank was mentioned, raising ethical questions for some readers. It contributes to the overall sense of heightened reality. This aligns with a broader criticism one reviewer leveled specifically at the female characterization, calling it hugely problematic, stereotypical, and shallow. They even noted a double standard and the word whore being used.
Whore. See. Told you. Daytime soap opera. And a double standard. Shocking. Next you'll tell me the male characters were allowed complex inner lives, while the women were just deciding which shade of beige to paint the apocalypse bunker. Although, to be fair, Nick seemed all right. The straight guy matched with another guy, Alex. People seemed to like them. Swoon, they said.
Yes. Nick was often described as a stand-up good guy, and his storyline exploring sexuality with his match, Alexander or Alex, was frequently praised. Reviewers used terms like cute and made their heart sore. Though his fiancée, Sally, was apparently less popular, called a vindictive crazy woman.
Oh. The fiancé is always the villain when swooning is involved. It's practically law. But the reactions overall, they were intense. People weren't just reading this book. They were experiencing it. Like a medical procedure without anesthetic.
The emotional responses were certainly pronounced. One reviewer claimed, "This book gave me anxiety to the point of crying, and it gave me a permanent case of high blood pressure." Another needed to lie down in a darkened room for a while.
High blood pressure. See. Forget exercise bikes. Just read this book. Though maybe have paramedics on standby, and the contradictions, well, the beautiful, beautiful contradictions. One person says, I loved every character and every storyline. The next says, the characters were one-dimensional shells of people. Who do we believe?
It presents a challenge for objective assessment. Similarly, the ending was called both perfect and rushed, unsatisfactory, or too neat. And the genre itself, some called it a psychological thriller, another flatly stated. And I must add, it wasn't psychological thriller at all. Perhaps it's like that reviewer described it. Licorice all sorts, you had romance, drama, comedy, mystery, horror, thriller, and everything else.
Licorice all sorts. Exactly. Except some of the licorice pieces might be plotting your demise. And the fans, the sheer devotion. I give anything John Mars has written 5 gazillion stars, including his sticky notes. 5 gazillion stars. That's commitment. Or possibly a cry for help. And the keyboard smash. This is being made into a streaming series and I can't wait. Pure, unadulterated gibberish joy.
The enthusiasm is palpable. It seems the constant cliffhangers were a major factor. Reviewers repeatedly mentioned the short chapters ending with shocks. Every single chapter ends with shocking twist, one exclaimed, adding, "I don't even know how that is possible."
It's possible through sheer, unadulterated narrative caffeine, mainlined directly into the reader's eyeballs. People were reacting so much they lost count. Jaws were on the floor by the second chapter. Ooh. Forget reading. This sounds like cardio, oh. Which brings us back to Christopher the Commando Killer being matched with Amy the Cop. That seemed to be the twist that really got people buzzing.
That particular pairing was frequently highlighted for its inherent drama and shock value. Yes, reviewers called it great stuff, compelling, the most interesting storyline. The high stakes were immediately apparent.
High stakes. That's like matching a lit stick of dynamite with a faulty fire alarm. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. And that's why people couldn't look away. It's the core appeal, isn't it? Despite the occasional quality wobble.
Well, amidst the chaos, the core premise itself, the DNA matching, was consistently praised. Readers found it fascinating, original, riveting.
Fascinating, sure. Like watching a train wreck in slow motion while juggling chainsaws. Original? Debatable? Feels very Black Mirror adjacent, as everyone pointed out. Riveting? Absolutely. Like being riveted to a chair while someone reads you the phone book. But the phone book is full of murderers and bad decisions.
And the pacing driven by those short chapters and cliffhangers was widely lauded as fast-paced, addictive, put-downable.
Addictive. Exactly. Like those mobile games that steal your soul one microtransaction at a time. Just one more chapter, they whispered, bleary-eyed at 40:30 a.m., according to one reviewer. Forget healthy habits. This book demands your sleep schedule as tribute.
It certainly provoked strong reactions and raised questions for readers. Which leads us to ask you, our listeners, reviewers really wrestled with this. If you could take that DNA test from Match Your DNA, find your one true soulmate. Would you? Even if you were already happy, already committed, let us know. Someone here probably thinks the real soulmate is whoever brings him snacks.
Snacks are eternal. Unlike some of these relationships, apparently. Now, we should probably mention that reviewers flagged some intense stuff beyond the general mayhem.
Yes, it's important to note, based on reader comments, that the serial killer storyline involves descriptions of murder and gore, with mentions of blood, spattered pages. There's also kidnapping listed among the plot elements.
Blood-spattered pages. Goodness. Were they reading it while performing amateur surgery? Or just exceptionally messy eaters? It sounds less like reading and more like participating in a crime scene cleanup.
Furthermore, as we touched upon, some readers found the female characterization problematic, citing stereotypes, double standards, and manipulative behaviors like stalking. Mental illness was also listed as a theme.
Stereotypes and double standards. In my pulpy thriller, am shocked. Shocked, I tell you. Well, not that shocked. It sounds like a buffet of bad behavior all around.
And the premise itself involves characters grappling with their sexual orientation when matched unexpectedly, alongside some potentially provocative or bizarre scenarios mentioned by reviewers. Plus, themes of cancer, coma and death, and like the previously mentioned post-mortem baby situation, it's a lot.
It's not just a lot. It's the whole darn kitchen sink, plus the plumbing, the neighbor's prize winning poodle, and possibly a rogue satellite dish, all thrown into a narrative blender set to pulverize.
So, attempting to synthesize these wildly divergent reactions, what is the final verdict from the esteemed Heartbook radio couch? The reviews indicate extreme polarization, a brilliant concept versus potentially flawed, over-the-top execution, engaging characters versus one-dimensional shells, a perfect ending versus a rushed soap opera conclusion.
My verdict: it's beautifully chaotic. Therefore, I shall rate the one using the highly scientific reviewer reaction scale. I give it 4 out of 5. Holy fuck. That was an emotional roller coaster. Moments. Plus 2 bonus points for giving someone permanent high blood pressure. Minus 1 point for every reviewer who called it kind of bad while admitting they couldn't put it down. And an extra half point for the sheer audacity of the commando jogging scene. Final score: a glorious, unhinged mess.
Precise calculation. Ultimately, the reader feedback suggests this book, the one by John Mars, is intensely divisive. A fascinating premise that spirals into what some found to be addictive, shocking entertainment, and others found to be unrealistic, pulpy melodrama. Honestly, you probably need to read it yourself to figure out which side of the DNA helix you fall on. If you dare.
Dare, double dare. Join us next time on Heartbook Radio when my co-host attempts to explain the philosophical implications of a toaster oven romance novel based entirely on online reviews complaining about uneven browning.
I will do no such thing. For Heartbook Radio.
Keep it weird, folks.